Okay, so we are now with notes receivable. As per discussion last meeting about trade and other receivables, under trade receivables, diba, we have two accounts under trade receivables. You have the accounts receivable and notes receivable. But which is to be classified as current asset. But we have notes receivable, though it's a trade receivable, but sometimes there are notes receivable na cannot be realized within a period, within 1 year. So sometimes it is recorded as part of the non-current asset. So notes receivable, so basically these are claims supported by a formal promises to pay, usually in the form of notes. So these claims supported by a promissory note. So it's more formal compared to the accounts receivable, supported by formal promissory note. Okay, therefore, it is a negotiable instrument, or it's a contract between two parties, between the maker and the payee. Diba? So notes receivable, it's a contract between two parties, which is the maker, which is siya ang nag-promise, diba? Siya ang nag-promise or siya ang nangutang, and the payee, siya ang mo-receive sa payment or ang nagpautang. Okay, the note may be payable on demand or a definite future date. Okay, standing alone, the term notes receivable represents only claim arising from sale of merchandise or service in the ordinary course of business. Because again, notes receivable is treated as trade receivable. And we say trade receivables, these are claims arising from the sale of merchandise or services in the ordinary course of business. Sir, how about those notes received from, let's say, for example, officers, employees, shareholders, and affiliates? And so these are classified under other receivables. Pwede yung mga advances to advances uh, to employees, officers, shareholders. So pwede sa under other trade or other receivables. Okay, so that's notes receivable. Let's discuss dishonored notes. What do you mean by dishonored notes? Diba? Dishonor ang notes receivable. When you say dishonor, diba? Wala ni sunod sa contract, sa agreement si maker. So, uh, let's say for example, the agreement between maker and payee na magbayad ko within this period, but when that time niabot arrives, wala po siya nagbayad. So therefore, the note is considered as dishonored. So how do we account dishonored notes receivable? Diba? When a promissory note matures and it is not paid, it is said to be dishonored. So if wala na bayaran within the maturity date, then the note is considered as dishonored. Okay, theoretically, dishonored notes receivable should be removed from the notes receivable account and transferred to accounts receivable. So what will happen to the dishonored notes? It will be removed under notes receivable and will be transferred to your accounts receivable. Sir, unsa man na? Let's say for example, si maker and payee, they have a contract. Okay, ingon si maker, because we are the payee, di ba? Because we are the ones who are recording the receivable account. So kita si payee nagsabot na, sige maker, katapusan sa February, bayaran nimo na ang imong promise. Okay, so kita, upon paghatag ni maker sa iyang promissory note, so let's say our entry as the payee, that's notes receivable. Let's say sales. Because, di ba, from ordinary course of operation or ordinary course of business, let's say you have 50,000. We have a 50,000 notes receivable to the maker. Okay, so after February 28, wala pa nagbayad si maker. So, 'di ba? When it is already matured but it is not yet paid, so the notes is considered as dishonored. So dishonored na siya. So si buhaton na to, we remove the notes receivable and we transfer it to accounts receivable. Okay, so atong buhaton, since it's dishonored note naman, so atong i-record siya as accounts receivable, tanggalon na to siya as notes receivable. Ana lang, dishonored notes. Still, you have a receivable account but dili na sa notes receivable. It's already an accounts receivable. Okay, so ingon dire, the amount debited to accounts receivable should include the face amount, interest, and other charges. Let's say, for example, wala na bayaran, tapos based on your agreement, if dili mabayaran within the due date, nanay interest. Let's say, nanay interest na 2%. Okay, 2%. So, if that's the case, tapos na other charges na gi-charge, let's say 2% lang ang charges, apil na interest and other charges, so pila man ang 2% sa 50,000? Okay, that's 1,000. So, therefore, ang total AR niya mong i-record, dapat 50,000 plus the interest. Para ang total receivable nimo is 51,000. Diba? It should include the face amount, interest, and other charges. Let's say, notes receivable, it's still 50,000. Pwede kang magdugang like interest income or other income katong 1,000. Okay, so that is dishonored notes. Diba? Such approach is defended on the ground that the overdue note has lost part of its status as a negotiable instrument and really represents only an ordinary claim because it was already dishonored, diba? Dili na sa negotiable instrument nga na ay supported by promissory note. So this time, the receivable is already considered as ordinary claim na lang sa against the maker or let's say accounts receivable. Okay. Question now is how are we going to measure your notes receivable? When we say measurement, diba, we have initial measurement, and we have the subsequent measurement. Measurement criteria will differ on the terms of the note. Okay, so this is your notes receivable. You have short term, within 1 year, ma-realize within 1 year, and you have long term. Then yung long term, pwede interest bearing or non-interest bearing. So again, your notes receivable, pwede short term, pwede long term, tapos yung long term, pwedeng interest bearing or non-interest bearing. Okay, so the measurement criteria, let's start first with the initial measurement. Diba? How are we going to measure the notes receivable initially? So it will depend on the term of the notes receivable. So if it's short term or long term. When you say short term, conceptually, notes receivable is measured initially at present value. Conceptually. Sir, what do you mean by present value? When I say present value, this is time value of money. The difference between the value of money based on the time. So that's present value. Later, I will discuss this in thorough. So, conceptually, notes receivable is measured initially at present value. But for the short-term notes receivable, it is initially measured at present value and the present value is equal to the face value. Why? Because since it's short term, because if we compute the present value of a short term receivable, there's an insignificant difference between the present value and the face value of the short term receivable. That's why short term receivable is initially measured equal to its face value or face amount. Okay, so that's how we measure initially short term. Normally, pag short term receivable, dili na kayo applicable ang subsequent measurement because it's for short term lang sa within 1 year lang siya. But sometimes, pwede sa measured at amortized cost, okay, subsequently. But again, the initial measurement for short term notes receivable is at face value. But conceptually, it is initially measured at present value. Okay, pero if the na problem, question is short term, pilay amount, pilay initial measurement, so that is equal to the face value or the amount that is equal to the face value. How about long term notes receivable? So the initial measurement will differ if it is interest bearing or non-interest bearing. So the initial measurement for long-term receivable interest bearing, it is initially measured at face value. Kung pilay nakabutang, let's say 1 million, that's the initial measurement of the interest bearing. Okay, how about non-interest bearing? Non-interest bearing, long-term notes receivable is initially measured at present value. Okay, at present value. Sir, what's the difference between interest-bearing and non-interest-bearing receivable? You say interest-bearing, di ba, in the face of the note, okay, in the note or the promissory note, na naka-indicate dito nga interest. Let's say that's 10% notes receivable. Bali, nasay express interest rate na gipakita sa notes niya, face of the note. Or say non-interest bearing, dili imply wala dili expressly indicated the interest rate. So wala dili mo makita nga 10% note receivable, but the question, sir, wala na interest. Wala na sa interest, sir. No, non-interest bearing, gitawag sa non-interest bearing because implied na ang iyang interest. Okay. So, non-interest bearing ani, wala sa express interest na given sa face of the note, but dili pa sabot nga wala sa interest. Nana sa interest, but imputed na siya. Kumbaga, naka-implied yang interest rate niya. Let's say, pag interest bearing, may sa 1 million, okay, let's say, 10%. Pag interest bearing, ang interest expense niya, interest income ni mo ana, times na ka-delete. So, 1 million times 10%. That's 100,000. That's 100,000. That's interest bearing, automatic. You can compute. But when you say non-interest bearing, let's say we have a receivable of 1 million to be collected for 2 years. Let's say 1 million for 2 years. So, every year, makakolekta og 500,000. From that collection, 500,000, napil na diri ang interest. So, let's say, sa 500,000, ang principal ana is 400,000 and the 100,000 is the interest. So, part of the collection, total collection, is the interest. So, bali, imputed na ang interest. Kaning sa interest bearing, let's say, 10%, 1 million is payable for 2 years plus the interest of 10%. Therefore, imong atong makolek ani every year 500,000 plus the 10% of 100,000 on the first year. So that's why that's 600,000. On the second year, pila atong makolek? 500,000 plus pilay balance na bilin. On the second year, That's 500 times 10%, 50 na lang ni. So that's 550. Kumbaga, pag interest bearing, principal plus the interest. But for non-interest bearing, the total collection imputed na ang interest ana. So, 'di ba sa 500,000 na collection, 400 ana for principal, 100 ana for interest. That's why it's called non-interest bearing. Dili expressly given yang interest, but it doesn't mean na walay interest. So naagapon sa interest. Mo ning itawag substance over form, 'di ba? In form, walay interest expressed, but in substance nanay appeal interest. Okay, so again, initial measurement, pag short-term notes receivable, it is initially measured at face value. Long-term, it will depend if it is interest-bearing or non-interest-bearing. So if it is interest-bearing, the notes receivable is recorded initially at face value, and the long-term non-interest bearing is recorded initially at present value. Let's talk about present value. So, unsa ng present value or time value of money? Okay, so this is the concept of present value or time value. Okay, so we have present value and we have future value. Okay, so inani siya, si kalahian, di actually exact opposite ni sila duha. So present value, let's say after 3 years, gusto ko ang akong let's say akong madawat after 3 years, gusto ko 1 million. 'Di ba? After 3 years. Let's say 1, 2, 1 million. Okay. So 1 million after 3 years. Question karon, pila ang akong i-invest today on year 1 para after year 3 moabot siya og 1 million. So the amount nga kung pilay mong i-invest karon on year 1, mo natong gitawag nga present value. Pilay present value anang 1 million nimo karon on year 1 para moabot siya og 1 million on year 3. That's present value. Okay. So future value pod, if magbutang ko og 100,000 karon, pila kaha siya after year 3. That's future value, di ba? If magbutang ko year 1, 100,000, pila kaha ang value ana niya after year 3. That's time value of money. Di ba? What do you think nga nganong dili man siya pariha? Siyempre, na interest charges. Di ba? So, especially if receivable siya, pag long-term receivable siya, na mga interest charges. So, that's why different ang amount niya. So again, this is present value. So let's say on after year 3 or after the third year, I want to have a 1 million peso nga receivable. Question right now is, pila ang akong i-invest starting year 1 para maabot siya og 1 million. Okay, that's present value. When I say future value, if magbutang ko karon og 100,000, pila kaha ang akong madawat after 3 years. Okay, that's future value. So I hope clear siya ha. So therefore, the long term Okay. So your long-term non-interest bearing note is initially measured at present value. That's why we need to compute the present value of the note receivable to compute the initial measurement if non-interest bearing note siya. Okay, sir, how do we compute the present value? So we have formulas. We have two types of present value. So you have PV of 1, that's present value of 1, then present value of ordinary annuity of 1. Okay, so we have formulas here. PV of 1, PV of ordinary annuity of 1. PV of 1, that's 1 plus interest rate raised to negative n. While PV of ordinary annuity of 1, that's 1 minus 1 plus interest rate raised to negative n divide I. So your I is equal to the interest rate. Specifically, the effective interest rate. Because we have nominal rate, we also have effective interest rate. Normally, computation of present value, this is applicable for the non-interest bearing long-term notes receivable. So your N is equal to the total number of interest payments. So akong gibutan diri total number of interest payments. Why? Because pwede man na for a certain transaction, ang interest bayaran monthly, ang interest bayaran quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. So, magdepende inyong N. So, dili pasabot kay 4 years bayaran, 4 years na sa diretso yung ibutang sa N. So, it will depend on the total number of interest payment. Let's say, for example, 4 years ang term, pero magbayad og interest semi-annually. So, ikaduha sa isa ka tuig. So, pila ka interest payments? That's 8 interest payments for 4 years, di ba? So, that's why akong gi-emphasize diri that your N should be total number of interest payments. Your I also, normally, the rate given is annual rate. Di ba? Annual rate. What if semi-annual bayaran ng interest? So, siyempre, you need to divide the annual rate. Let's say, divide 2, semi-annual. Okay. So, divide 2DI times 2DN. Okay, to compute for the PV of 1 and PV of ordinary annuity of 1. Okay, so because some of the problem in the book, naghatag na sila og present value sa inyo. But what if wala mo gihatagan? How to compute? At least you know how to compute. So using this formula, PV of 1, PV of ordinary annuity of 1. Sir, kanos agamiton ang PV of 1 o PV of ordinary annuity of 1? Di ba kabantay mo? PV of 1 lang siya. Tapos kaning isa, PV of ordinary annuity. So kung paminan nyo, ordinary annuity, mura siya every year. Diba? Every year siya. So, ano sa gamiton si PV of 1? Okay, normally, PV of 1, in computing the present value, is multiplied to your principal. Again, PV of 1 is generally multiplied to your principal, or let's say lump sum. Lump sum or one-time receipt or payment. Okay, di ba normal because naman yung mga principal na bayaran siya one time, napoy uban na installment, di ba? So kani PV of 1 is multiplied to the principal or let's say lump sum or one-time receipt or payment. While PV of ordinary annuity of 1 is multiplied to your interest. Or installment payments. Diba? Ordinary annuity. Why interest is multiplied to the ordinary annuity? Because interest normally is collected or paid, diba, every year, every month, depende sa term. Okay, depende sa interest payment dates niya. So, kumbaga, mura sa balik-balik. That's why ordinary annuity of tuan. So, mura sa installment, pwede sa balik-balik ni mo sa kolektahon. Unlike sa PV of 1, kas-ara yun, PV of 1. So, let's say, ang principal, especially if bayaran siya lump sum, one-time receipt or payment. Okay, so I hope clear ha, concept sa present value. How do we compute the present value? Okay, so let's proceed with the subsequent measurement. Diba? So, subsequent measurement. Question so far na notes receivable is subsequently measured after the initial recognition. Long-term notes receivable shall be measured at amortized cost using effective interest method. So subsequent measurements, especially on the long-term notes receivable, subsequently measured at amortized cost using effective interest method. Okay, how do we compute the amortized cost? Again, the subsequent measurement is at amortized cost. How do we compute the amortized cost? So you have initial measurement, you have the initial measurement, diba? Depende at face value or at present value. But normally, the subsequent cost is applicable for the non-interest bearing note. Okay, so initial measurement minus principal repayment tapos plus minus cumulative amortization of discount or premium. Then, minus reduction or impairment loss. So, medyo technical na mga terms na to diri ha. Impairment loss. So, that is your amortized cost. Okay, so that is how we compute the subsequent measurement. Okay, you have the initial measurement minus the principal repayment. Siyempre, we need to deduct if there are payments from the customers. Diba? So, minus principal repayments, cumulative amortization of discount, if discount plus, if premium, that's deduct. Okay. Baliktad ni. Dapat, pag there is discount, okay, baliktad dapat ni. Discount premium. Okay, discount or premium. So that's the amortized cost. That's how we compute the amortized cost. Okay, so impairment loss, we'll discuss this on loan receivable. So that is your amortized cost. That is the subsequent measurement of notes receivable, long-term notes receivable. For long-term non-interest bearing notes receivable, the amortized cost is the present value plus the amortization of the discount or the face value minus the unamortized unearned interest income. Okay. So tama ni. So, if non-interest bearing, di ba, para mas dali siya, since the initial measurement is at present value, to compute the amortized cost, non-interest bearing notes receivable, di ba, our initial measurement is at present value. Then, you need to plus the amortization of discount. Okay. Concept of amortization is like depreciation. Di ba? Depreciation is depreciable amount divided by the useful life. There is amortization, the cost of the discount divide by the years of the term of the receivable if it's straight line, because under amortization we have three methods of amortization. Okay, so you have straight line, you have bonds outstanding, and we have the effective interest method. But di ba, according to the standard, it is subsequently measured at amortized cost using effective interest method. So we need to use the effective interest method. Okay, so plus amortization, then that is the amortized cost. Okay. Another way to compute amortized cost of non-interest bearing note is you'll start with the face value. Again, face value is different from the present value. So face value mo na sa ang amount nga makita nimo sa promissory note, but the present value, kumbaga kanang face value mo na ang amount na ma-receive ni payee, let's say after 3 years. The question now is pila ang present value anang face value at the end of 3 years. That's why we compute the present value. Okay, so another way to compute, you have the face value minus the unamortized discount or unearned interest income. That is the amortized cost. Another way to compute the amortized cost. So here, in the problem for notes receivable, discount refers to interest income. Discount refers to interest income. Okay, so let's have the illustration, di ba, provided in the book. So here, interest-bearing note. So an entity owned a tract of land costing 800,000 and sold the land for 1 million. Okay, so kita nagbaligya tag land na ay cost na 800,000. Gibaligya nato for 1 million. That's the selling price. The entity received a 3-year note for 1 million plus interest of 12% compounded annually. Therefore, ang gibayad sa ato ni customer sa atong gibaligyaan, nagbayad sa og note receivable na worth 1 million plus interest na 12%. 12% interest. Compounded pa jud sa annually. What do you mean by compounded annually? What do you mean by compounded annually? Any idea? Compounded annually. Yes, that's correct, 'di ba? Ang interest, motubo ang interest. 'Di ba? Interest sa siya, ang interest manganak na pud og interest. Okay, so that's compounded annually. So magtubo ang interest every certain period of time, yes. So magtubo ang tubo, sir. Oh, that's correct. 'Di ba? Ang interest, 'di ba natay principal, ang principal mo interest. Pag may kag compounded annually, ang interest mo interest pud siya, dili lang ang principal ang mo interest. Okay, so since the selling price is 1 million, take note that the note receivable is interest bearing. So yung anong interest bearing man, di ba nagiingon plus the 12% interest. So aside sa 1 million nga principal, natay kolektahon nun na 12% interest. Therefore, our journal entry for this transaction, we receive a note receivable recorded at initial amount at what amount? Pag interest bearing, recorded initially at face value, di ba? At face value. Therefore, pila ang face value? Okay, 1 million. That's why 1 million. Then we credit the land because atong gibaligya worth costing 800,000. Then we have ginansata, di ba? Gain on sale. Siyempre, 800 ra ang cost sa land, gibaligyan na to 1 million. So ginansata og 200,000. That's interest bearing. Since the interest is payable annually, the interest is payable sabay-day after 3 years, di ba? The entity receive a 3-year note plus interest of 12% compounded annually. So, ang interest nato, madawat ra nato siya at the end of 3 years. So, that's why ang gibuhat diri sa libro, iyang gi-accrue. 'Di ba? Gi-accrue niya ang interest income. So, we have accrued interest income here. 'Di ba? So, when you say accrued interest income, already earned but not yet received. Why? Because the payment is pagka third year pa. Third year pa siya. Okay, the payment is pagka third year pa. So, since ilabay na ang 1 year, we need to recognize because it was already earned. That's why accrued na siya, accrued income. So, that's why on year 1, this is the entry on year 1, aside from the sale transaction, record po tag accrued interest receivable. Then we credit interest income. So how much is the interest income? That's 1 million times the 12% interest rate. That's for year 1. That's for year 1. So 1 million times 0.12, you have 120,000. Okay. On year 2, siyempre, wala pa gyapon ta nabayaran because year 3 pa ta bayaran. But the question, naabay na earn nga interest income on year 2. Naabay interest income? Yes, naa gyapon. Question karon pila? Mo na need because compounded siya, di ba our interest is based on the principal. Diba 1 million ang principal, katong face value niya or principal. Pero kay ingon niya compounded man annually, ang interest magtubo pod og interest. Pilay interest last year? You have 120,000 year 1. So plus 120,000, that is 1,120,000. Dirita mo times og 12%. So pila man na? That's 120 times 0.12. That's 134. 400. Okay, that's why atong entry, accrued interest receivable, interest income, 134,400. On year 3, siyempre nakadawat na ta og payment. So pila tanan atong kolektahon nun o compute sa tag-interest para ma-compute na to pila ang tanan kolektahon nato sa atong buyer. Okay, so year 3 since compounded ban siya, so atong base 1 million, pilay interest sa year 1 120,000, pilay interest sa year 2 134,400. Pilay total ani, that's 1 million plus 120 plus 134.4. That's 1,254,400 times 12%. That's 150,528. Unsa nang 150,528? Unsay tawag anang 150,528? That is our unsa nang 150,528? Okay, that is our interest income. Therefore, atong kolektahon nun 1,254,400 plus the interest for year 3 nga 150,528. Pilay total ana? 1,254,400 plus 150,528. So natay total kolektahon nun na 1,404,928. Diba? Mo na itong total collectible, okay, from the buyer. So atong entry on year 3, since na may payment, dawat tag cash na total of 1,404,928. Pila to atong notes receivable? 1 million. Pila atong accrued interest receivable nga na-collect karon? Diba? Pila atong accrued interest receivable nga na-collect? Pila man? That's 254,400. Sir, aha nagikan, di ba? Balikan na to. We have year 1, nag-record tag accrued interest receivable 120. Paabot og year 2, nag-record na po tag accrued interest receivable 134,400. So, since kaning duha ka receivable na collect nato on year 3, so total nato nga accounts accrued interest receivable nga na collect is 254,400. Sir, kulang man. Unsa ang kulang? Ang interest income. Because diba karon man sa nga year na earn to year 3. So that's interest income. That's 150,528. So actually simple lang ang interest bearing. Diba? Because at face value di mo sa i-record initially. So how about non-interest bearing ta? Diba? Non-interest bearing, actually dagan illustration gihatag sa libro. Diba? I think we have 3 illustrations about non-interest bearing note. Isa-isahon nato siya. Non-interest bearing note receivable. So, first illustration dire. So, illustration 1. So, an entity manufactures and sells machinery. Take note that the entity, di ba, part sa ilang normal, ordinary course of business because they are manufacturers and sellers of machinery. So, on January 1, 2020, the entity sold machinery costing 280 for 400,000. Therefore, kabaligya ta og machinery Nasa cost na 280,000 pero ang selling price nato is 400,000. Okay, the buyer signed a non-interest bearing note for 400,000 payable in 4 equal installments every December 31. Take note, bantayan ninyo ang problem. Na-interest rate gihatag. Na-interest rate gihatag. Di ba walay gihatag nga interest rate sa problem. Therefore, the note, pero utang siya, di ba? Utang. So, the notes receivable is considered as non-interest bearing notes receivable. Diba? Walay interest expressed, diba, in the transaction. Question, pasabot ba tungod kay walay interest rate nga gihatag? Wala tay interest income nga i-record? Okay, the answer is dili. Again, when you say non-interest bearing, implied na ang interest sa 400,000. Bali, ang 400,000 nanay interest dira apil. Okay. So, pila to? 400,000. Gihatagan tag non-interest bearing notes receivable payable in 4 years tapos naka-installment. Okay. So, therefore, every year, divide 4, dapat natay collection nga 100,000. Kanang 100,000 karon, again, since it's a non-interest bearing, question ana karon, pila ang atong interest ana. Okay, so face value of the note. So the cash sale price of the machinery is 350,000. Therefore, the cash sales price of the machinery is 350,000. But since it's a non-interest bearing long-term note receivable, di ba? Initially, we measured the non-interest bearing note receivable at what amount? At initial measurement of a non-interest bearing long-term at present value. Therefore, man ang present value ana, sir. Because the 400,000, that is the face value. The present value is the cash sale price of the machinery, which is the 350,000. Okay, therefore, you have the face value of 400,000. You have the present value, which is the cash sales price of 350,000. Therefore, there's a difference of 50,000. And that 50,000 is considered as your unearned interest income. The 50,000 is your unearned interest income. Okay, di ba tanaw ninyo, future value, after 3 years, after 4 years, ang total collection nato is dapat 400,000. But because time value of money, di ba, pila ang amount anang 400,000 nimo karon para maabot sa 400,000 total collection after 4 years. So, the present value based on the cash sale price is equal to 350,000. Again, the difference is tungod na atay gitawag nga interest income. But this 50,000 is still unearned. Diba? Nga naman, wala pa man nilabay. Diba? At the time of transaction pa man ni. So, di pa ni mo na siya ma-earn. That's why ato sang i-amortize. Okay. So, napo dire, cash sale price of 350,000 minus the cost of machinery. So, you have a gross income of 70,000. Okay, so basi matingala mo, gross income ang gigamit ana ha, gross income. Okay, sa previous problem, di ba yung gigamit kay gain on sale of land. So gross income yung gigamit. So that refers to sales minus cost of sales. Yes, because it is a manufacturer or a seller of machinery. It's part of the ordinary course of business. Okay, so you have a gross income of 70,000, di ba? Look at the entries. To record the sale, it's a sale transaction. Kumbaga, katong machinery, it's considered as inventory of the company. Why? Because they are manufacturer and seller of machineries. Okay, dili sa PPE para sa ila. Dili sa property, plant, and equipment para sa ila. It's considered as inventory, again, because it's part of the ordinary course of business na naga-manufacture and naga-sell sila og machinery. So, the entry, you have the notes receivable upon sale equal to the 400,000. Then, you have sales of 350,000. Then, you have unearned interest income of 50,000. Okay, sir, nganong 400,000 man gyapon imong gi-record nga notes receivable, di ba? At present value man sa sir. Di ba? The 400,000 is the face value. Okay, di ba, to compute the present value or the amortized cost of the notes receivable, that is 400,000, or the carrying amount, that's 400,000 minus the 50,000 earned interest income, that is equal to 350,000. Okay, basta matingala mo kay ingon present value, pero nga nang 400,000 raman gyapon ang gi-record nimo, sir. Okay. So, it's recorded at 400,000 pero naatay i-minus nga unearned interest income. So, that's the present value of the notes receivable. Okay. So, karon to record the first installment, syempre naka-installment ang 400,000, 'di ba? Every year we will receive 100,000. So, simple lang entry, 'di ba? Ka-collect 100,000, notes receivable 100,000. Ang question karon, saan na to ni pag-amortize ang unearned interest income? You see, amortize, portion of this will be realized, will be earned, 'di ba? It's unearned interest income, wala pa na earn. 'Di ba? So, portion of this will be realized, may mong earned. Okay, so mag-adjusting entry ta dire. So, based on the problem, ang iyang gigamit nga amortization is naka-balance outstanding method siya. Okay, that's naka-balance outstanding method siya. Okay, so sir, unsa nang balance outstanding method? So, tandaan ninyo sa illustration sa libro, diba? So, naka-fraction siya. Okay, so, diba, 4 years. Okay, pilay balance starting 2020, 400, diba? 400,000. Pangabot og 2021, 300 na lang. Sir, ngayon 300 na lang mana. 'Di ba? Every year na ay collection. Payable sa 100,000, 'di ba? Naka-installment siya. So this is balance, 'di ba? Balance outstanding method iyang gigamit. So 2021 pilay balance 300. Pag abot og 2022, nabayaran na pud ang 100, pili na bilin 200. Pag abot og 2023, nabayaran na pud ang 100. So 100 na lang nabilin. Pila imong total ani, that's 437, that's 1 million. Tapos ang total unearned interest income nimo is 50,000. So kani ato ning bahinon, pila kang 2020, pila kang 2021, pila kang 2022, pila kang 2023. Pila atong ma-realize ani. So, unsa atong buhaton? So, we use the fraction, di ba? Kani, proportionate ani. Pila man ni? That's 400 divide 1 million. Di ba? 400 divide 1 million. Kani, 300 divide 1 million. 200 divide 1 million. And 100 divide 1 million. So, 50,000 times 400 divide 1 million, that is equal to 20,000. 50,000 na po times 300 divide 1 million, that's 15,000. Then so on, that's 10,000. That's 5,000. Sir, unsi pasabot ani na diri, sir? Mo ni ang atong mahimong interest income every year. Diba? So, every year, mo na itong mahimong interest income. Mo ni ang ma-earn, mo na ang ma-earn, mo na ang ma-realize. So, on 2020, after the collection, naatay na earn pila. 20,000. So our entry is debit unearned interest income credit interest income. That's 20,000. Okay, so inana siya pag-compute pag bonds outstanding method siya ang amortization. Question. Question so far. None so far. How about the others? None, sir. So far, non-interest bearing ning outstanding, sir. Yes, yes. Sa non-interest bearing ni siya applicable. Okay, sige. Let's proceed with the second illustration. Second illustration, non-interest bearing note gihapon. Okay. So on January 1, 2020, an entity sold an equipment with a cost of 250 for 400,000. Natay equipment gibaligya, cost niya is 250,000. Natay selling price of 400,000. Si buyer nag-down payment of 100,000 and signed a non-interest bearing note for 300,000 payable in equal annual installment of 100,000 every December 31. Sa 400,000 nga selling price nato, si buyer nag-down payment og 100,000. Therefore, ang iyang giutang na lang is only 300,000. Mo na iyang giisuan og promissory note. 300,000. Since it's a non-interest bearing, tapos long term because payable equal annual installment of 100,000, so 3 years. 3 years sa bayaran, naka-installment every December 31. So the prevailing interest rate for a note of this type is 10%. Okay, sir, kanang 10% dira, di ba non-interest bearing man sa sir? Nganong na may 10% ibutang? That is the prevailing interest rate. Yung say prevailing interest rate, mo nang implied rate for the non-interest bearing. Okay, so, di ba, mo nang gitawag po dato nga effective interest rate. Okay, so prevailing interest rate for a note of this type is 10%. So, the present value of ordinary annuity of 1 for 3 periods at 10% is 2.4869. Okay, so, di ba, nagamit na tag present value. In this problem, since, di ba, it's a non-interest bearing note, long-term non-interest bearing note, initial measurement is at present value. We cannot measure the interest-bearing note at 400,000. Why? Because this is the face value. We need to measure it at present value. So, sir, how do we compute the present value? That's the time we need to use the PV of 1 and PV of ordinary annuity of 1. Okay, so, balik ta sa formula. Kani. Diba? This is the formula. PV of 1, 1 plus I raised to negative n. PV of ordinary annuity of 1, that's 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n, divide I. Question, based on the problem, kinsa atong gamiton? Si PV of 1 or PV of ordinary annuity of 1? Diba kano sa tamo gamit og PV of 1 if ang principal lump sum sa bayaran or one-time payment or receipt. Okay, one time. Pag may kag ordinary annuity, normally this is multiplied by the interest or installment payments or installment receipts. Question, based on the problem, kinsa tong gamiton? PV of tuan, PV of ordinary annuity of tuan. PV of ordinary annuity of tuan. Why? Because nganong PV of ordinary annuity of tuan man? Because naka-installment. Because there are series of payments. Naay series of payments. Kanang PV of tuan, 1 na jud, lump sum 1. Lump sum. Ordinary annuity of tuan, di ba? Ordinary annuity because there are series of payments. Therefore, na series of payments, so we use the PV of ordinary annuity of tuan. Okay, based on the problem, gihatag na sa inyo ang PV of tuan, di ba? For 3 years. That's 2.4869. So, let's try to compute if same ba, magamit tag formula. Okay, di ba? PV of ordinary annuity of tuan. That's 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n divide I. So, pila atong I dire? Diba? I is the interest rate. Effective rate, pila? That's 10%. So, 0.1. Pila atong n? Pila sa ka-years bayaran? Okay, 3 years. Okay, 3 years siya. So, since annual man, so 3 years. Divide I. Divide 10%. Pila ni? Diba? Gamit tag calcu, that's 1 plus 0.10 raised to negative 3. Negative 3 na raised to negative 3. Sige daw, try ninyo compute. Pila? 2.4869. Diba? So, 4 decimal places ta, that's 2.4869. Same ba sa gihatag nga amount sa libro? Diba, ang gihatag sa libro is 2.4869. So, inana sa pag-compute. Normally, sa akong mga quizzes, sa akong mga exams, sa akong mga problem, dili ko muhatag diretso sa inyo. Pakumpiton ta mo because naay formula. Naay standard sa decimal places, sir. So, normally, ginagamit nila 4 decimal places. But, pag abot sa exam, sa quizzes, akong i-indicate dito na round off to 4 decimal places, round to 2 decimal places. Kailangan sa i-mention sa problem. But normally, tag 4 decimal places gina siya. 4 decimal places. So again, we use the 2.4869. So nanatay na compute, i-times din nato siya sa annual installments. Pila ganyang annual installment for 3 years times pila tong annual installment ani? 100,000. Pila man na? That is now the present value times 100,000. That's 248,690. That is now the present value of your notes receivable. Okay, so di ba you have now the present value. Pila ganito yung face value sa atong note? Di ba? 3 million. Di ba? 300,000. 300,000 ang nabilin because na down payment. 300,000 minus the present value. Di ba? After 3 years, 300,000 atong madawat total. Pero pilay value ana niya karon year 1. Present value, that is 248 lang siya. Ano na may difference? Because of the interest. Okay, so that's 300,000 minus 248,690. That's 51. 310 unearned pa lang. Earned interest income. Okay, so that is how you compute. Okay, for the so paabot dire pilay sales price nato, present value of the note, that's 248 690 plus the down payment. Ilang down payment? 100,000. So that is the total selling price nato na 348,690 minus pilay cost sa machine. Sa equipment, you have cost of the equipment of 250,000. Therefore, ginansa ta lugi. Tag 250 ra ang atong equipment, gibaligyan nato og 348. Okay, di ba? Ginansa ta. We have a gain of 98,690. Gain on sale. What is the journal entry? Di ba? Ka-receive tag down payment 100,000. Nakadawat tag note receivable na 300,000. Gibaligya natong equipment ganay cost of 250,000. Nakaginansa ta gain, di ba? Credit gain man. That's 98,690. Then natay unearned interest income at 51,300. So again, sir, nganong 300 may mong record sa note receivable na yung ka at present value. Again, we need to deduct pa the unearned interest income to get the present value. So that's why 300,000 minus 51,310, the carrying amount or the present value or the amortized cost of your non-interest bearing notes receivable is equal to the present value nga atong na-compute. Okay. So I hope that's clear. So after the sale transaction, diba, this year 1, we need to amortize the unearned interest income of 51,310. Diba, aton isang i-amortize. Ingon ko kagaina, we have 3 methods of amortization. So you have straight line, method, okay, bonds outstanding, balance method, and you have the effective interest method. According to the standard, in computing the amortized cost, you need to use the effective interest method. Okay, so we need to use the effective interest method. So in this illustration 2, diba, the company used the effective interest method of amortization. Okay, so on year 1, aside from the sale transaction, we need to record the first collection, di ba? Because the collection is good for 3 years, magsugod siya on 2020. So, debit cash, notes receivable 100,000 every year. Then another entry in year 1 is the amortization of the discount of the unearned interest income. Okay, so using effective interest method, we can now create what we call as amortization table. So we can now create the amortization table. So amortization table very useful because nanatanan diri makita ang answer sa problem sa amortization table nimo. So di ba, you just need to familiarize the format of the table. Once tama ng amount sa inyong ipangbutang, dali na kayo pangitaw ng answer. Okay, so in this problem, since it's an installment problem, so inani atong table, amortization table. Okay, in this problem, present value is equal to your amortized cost or the subsequent measurement or the carrying amount. So again, present value is equal to the amortized cost and equal to the carrying amount. So mao niya tong amortization table. So this is our amortization table. Okay. So since there's a collection, installment siya, we have the interest income, you have the principal, you have the present value. Okay, so the dates are based on the interest payment dates or the payment date. So you have, let's say, on January 1, 2020, diba, the next payment is December 31, 2020, second year of payment, 2021, and third year of payment, 2022. Diba naka-compute na ta kagaina og present value? That's 248. Plato tong present value kagaina. Kani, 248,690. So, kanang present value mo na on January 1, di ba? On initial measurement. 248,690. Okay. So, every December 31, natay collection nga 100,000, di ba? Collection. Question karon, how do we compute the interest income? So, putang nato nig label let's letter A, letter B. Si letter B is equal to letter D times I. Si principal po, this is C, this is A minus B. Si present value, this is, present value is equal to D minus C. Okay, D minus C. Okay, so December 31, your interest income, D times I, you have D, 248,690 times the 10% interest rate. 10% ba to? Oh, yes, 10%. Okay, so 248,690 times 10%, that's 24,869. Tapos, ang C, di ba? C is equal to A collection minus B. So, that's 100,000 minus 24,869. 869, that's 75,131. Then letter D, that's D minus C. D, which refers to the previous D kani 248,690 minus letter C nga 75,131. So that's 248,690 minus 75,131. So that's 173,559. Same process. On December 31, 2021, how much is the interest income? So that's D times I. So ang basis sa po mo, kanina pong 173. The next present value. So 173 times 10%, 559 times 10%. So that's 17, 3, 5, 6. Round off na lang whole number. Tapos letter C, 100 minus 17,356. So that's 82,644. Pila ang present value? Minus 173,559 is 90,915. So, inanin yung bantayan. Pag magbuhat mo amortization table, na magiging do ka klaseng amortization table. Kani siya na annual collection. Diba? Na annual collection. If there is annual collection, your amortization always will equal to 0 ang present value at the end of maturity date. 0 gina sa dira. Okay, 0 na siya dira ha. If na ay collection, annual collection, imong amortization table. So, your ending balance sa imong present value December 31, 2022 or pinakalas sa imong table, kani 0 na sa dira. That should be equal to 0. Diba? So, atong formula, sa itong formula, pagkuha aning amount dire, diba? That's D minus C. So, dapat 90,915, pila tong i-minus para ma-0? Okay, 90,915 po, diba? 90,915. So, tibali, atong principal on December 31, 2022 is equal to 90,915. Okay, so work back ta. Pila ang atong i-minus sa 100 para mahimo sang 9, pila atong i-minus ani para mahimo sang 90,915. But that's 100 minus 90,915. That's 9,085. Sir, ingon di ba ka sir, pag compute sa interest income sir kay D, di ba? D times I. Kung kanya itong gamiton sir, di ba D, pila ang D ana sir? 90,915. 90,915 times 10% sir. Ang answer man sir kay 9,091.50. Anong dili man sa equal ana sir? Di ba? Unsay tama nga answer sir? Ang tama nga answer is 9085. Why? Because pag abot sa last year, dili na applicable ang atong kani ang atong times the percentage. Ngano na may difference sir because of rounding off of decimal places. Di ba kagaina pag compute sa PV, di ba pilagay ito 2.4869. Kung mag-calculate na, di ba 2.4869 na panay sumpay. Since nag-round off ta, nagid po difference sa amount. So, the correct answer is 9085. Dili 9091.50. Bantayan ninyo na. Labi na if ang question is last year. Okay. Dili gid applicable nga i-times nimo sa diretso. So, atong buhaton dire, pasiguan nato di nga mo arrive ta sa atong amount dire. So, for this illustration, since na ay collection, 0 siya. 0 imong target dire. 0 ni siya. So, compute ni, work back ni siya. Kung pila ang correct amount of interest income. So again ha, dili kani ang answer. The correct answer is kani. Based on the table, diri na daghan pwede mapangutana sa inyo. Pila ang interest income on December 31, 2020? Diba? Gamiton na to ang table. Pila? How much is the interest income on December 31, 2020? Pila? Pila? 24869. This is the answer. 24869. Pilang interest income on 2021? The answer is 17,356. Pilang interest income on December 31, 2022? 9085. Pila ang present value, pila ang amortized cost, or pila ang carrying amount on December 31, 2020? Pila answer? Pila ang present value or amortized cost or carrying amount on 2020? The answer is 173,559. Pila ang carrying amount, amortized cost, or present value on 2021? Okay, the answer is 90,915. Okay. Pila on December 31, 2022? Okay, 0. 0 na siya. Okay, dahan kay pwede ipangutana nga naara diri nga table. Okay, so since naantay interest income on year 2020 at 24,869, so mag-entry pud ta na on 2020 og unearned interest income, That's 24,869. Okay, on 2021 mag-entry na pud kaani, on 2022. Okay, pwede po kumangutana on December kanebe. Sige, on December 31, 2020, how much is the balance of unearned interest income? So, balikan nato to. On December 31, 2020, how much is the balance of unearned interest income? The correct answer is 26,441, diba? So kung magti-account ta, unearned interest income, diba natay balance kagaina, nag-credit ta og 51,310. Diba? So natay credit balance beginning of 51,310. So on 2020, nag-entry ta ani, which is nag-debit ta og 24,869. Therefore, the balance on 2020 is 26,441. Okay, sir, on 2022, pilay bala, 2021, sumpay na punta. Pila to atong gi-recognize? 17,356. So, minus sa punta dirig, 17,356. On 2021, the unamortized balance is pila? Okay, 9,085. Sir, paabot og 2022. Sige, 2022. Pila na po atong gi-record, di ba? 9,085. Since suma naman, dapat mag-zero out niyang balance at the end of its term. So 0 na on 2022. Okay. Diba, another way to compute the present value or carrying amount, diba? Mao naman ni atong present value, carrying amount based on the table. Another way to compute, diba, napato isa ka way, that's face value minus the unamortized unearned interest income. What do you mean by unamortized? Katong balance sa imong unearned interest income. Sige, let's try. Pilagay face value na to ani 300,000, di ba? 300,000 ang face value sa note. Okay, because na down payment nga 100. So face value 300,000. Pilay balance on 2020 sa mo unearned interest income. Di ba mga ni 26,441. Sige, let's minus 26,441. Pilay balance ani? This is 2020. Carrying amount. Pila? 273,559. Diba mo ani 2020? Check na to, pariha ba? Di siya pariha. 26,441, 273. Okay. 273,559 napabantay collection na 100,000. Siyempre, kinana to sa ibawas. So, pila ni? 173,559. So, this is the 2020 carrying amount. Okay, so 173,559. So, same ba dito sa atong table? Same sa atong table. 173,559. So, same na po na. 2021. Paabot og 2021. Sige, let's say 2021. Pila na i-balance na to? Face value na to is equal to 300,000. Pilay unamortized unearned interest income on 2021. Based sa atong table, natay 9,085. So, minus. Pero, natay collection since 2 years na, 200,000 na ang collection. Diba? So, tanan collection. Pilay balance ani? Pila ni? 90. Diba? This is carrying amount on 2021. That's 90,915. Pariha ba dito sa taas? 2021, 90,915. Pariha. Okay, pwede. Pwede bisaon sa nga way inyong gamiton. Pero, I suggest, mas okay gining naka amortization table. Kay kita tanan dire. Na diri tanan pwede ipangutana sa inyo sa amortization table. Sir, pwede mag-ask sa 9085 sa amortization table giyon sa pagkuha. Thank you. Sige, kani balik ta diri daw. Giyon sa daw ni pagkuha nato ang usang pang i-reason na. Okay, so iyang question is giyon sa daw ni nato pagkuha ang 9085. So, since na may collection nato, ang atong goal sa amortization table, if there is collection, may duha ka klase gid ani. So, if there is collection, dapat ang atong goal dire ma-zero out ni siya. So dapat atong goal ani ma-zero out siya. Zero dapat ang amount dira. Okay, so dapat 0 ang amount niya. So, ito sana yung i-delete. Okay, so atong goal, dapat ma-zero out ang balance dire, 0. Diba? To compute your letter D, based on our formula, D minus C, para makakompute tag letter D sa present value. So, since 0 atong goal dire, pila atong i-minus sa D nato para ma-zero out siya. So, ato ibutang dire, dapat equal amount, 9915. Okay, 9915. Diba unsaon gini pag-compute ang 9915? Based on our formula that C equals A minus B. Therefore, wala pa tay B. Oh, yes, C equals A minus B. Okay, so A, 100,000 minus, wala tay amount diri pero nanatay C. So, pila mo i-minus sa 100,000 para mo arrive ka sa 9915. So, man lang gitawag na to workback. So, 100,000 minus 9915. So, the answer is 9085. Okay. Sir, kung gamiton ang formula ni letter B, sir, di ba yung ka D times I? Therefore, dapat 173559 times 10%, dapat, sir, 9015, 9091.50 ang makompute. Okay, money ang except kumbaga ang dapat niyo bantayan sa amortization table. Mag-workback lang mo pag last year na. Because again, di ba nag-round off ta sa atong present values. Supposedly dapat ang makompute na to sa calculator, that's 2.4869 point something. Dagan kaya na siya. Because gi-round off nato into 4 decimal places, nagi changes sa amounts. Mo ni siya. That's why na-changes nila. Dili siya consistent. Pero the correct answer is kani, 9085. Kinala to sa pasiguan nga dapat mo zero out sa dire. Walay mabilin na balance. So again, this is only applicable sa last year. Pero let's say 5 years, first to fourth year, pwede ra ni nga formula yung gamiton. So abot og 5th year, dira na mo mag-adjust. Okay, bantayan ninyo. Only sa last year. Yes, last year. Only sa last year. Okay, other questions? Napay questions, clarifications? If none, di ba, let's proceed with the last illustration. Number 3. Diba? Non-interest bearing gapon ta ha. So, grabe ka kuti si non-interest bearing long-term note. Okay. That's why ako sang gi-explain daan, dili kaya isabay ang loan because applicable gihapon ni pag-abot sa loans. Diba? You still need to prepare amortization table dito sa loans. That's why ako sang gi-explain daan ang present value, ang amortization table. Dili pa lang daan. Okay. So, illustration 3, an entity sold an equipment costing 600,000 with accumulated depreciation of 250,000. So, naay equipment na with cost of 600,000 with accumulated depreciation of 250,000. Bang si tawag sa difference ani? This is the carrying amount. That's 600 minus 250. That's 350,000. That is the carrying amount of the equipment to be sold. The entity received as consideration of 100,000 cash and a 400,000 non-interest bearing note due on January 1, 2023. So, ang gibayad sa to ni customer, nag-down payment siya of 100,000 tapos naghatag sa og note receivable nga non-interest bearing 400,000 ang face value payable for 3 years. 3 years ba? Oh, yes, 3 years, 2023. So, 3 years bayaran. The prevailing rate of interest for a note of this type is 10%. Okay, so kani, ang problem, kagaina ng utang, pero gi-installment og bayad ang utang. This time, nangutang, pero bayaran ang utang pag-abot og third year. Di ba wala man gingon dira installment every year. So ang gingon dire cash and a 400,000 non-interest note due on January 1, 2023. Therefore, bayaran ni customer on January 1, 2023 at the end of third year or year 3. Okay, so naka lump sum siya, di ba? Naka one-time payment or receipt siya. So, therefore, since naka non-interest bearing ta, di ba? Unsa gani initial measurement? Initial measurement is measured at pag non-interest bearing long term at present value. Therefore, we need to compute the present value. Question, is the 400,000 the present value? Diba? No. Diba? The 400,000 is the face value. Therefore, we need to compute how much is the present value of this 400,000 karon. Diba? Because after third year, mo ni imong madawat pila value ani karon. So that's why we need to use the present value. Question, o sa atong gamiton, PV of tuan or PV of ordinary annuity of tuan? PV of 1 because one time ang payment, 'di ba? One time ang payment. So ito formula sa atong PV of tuan. Simple lang, that's 1 plus I raised to negative n. Maglisod og type, di ba? Lisod i-raise to negative n. Sige. So, PV of 1, now let's compute. So, PV of 1, that's 1. Natay interest nga 10%. Pila atong n? Pila ka years? That's 3 years. Therefore, pila atong PV of 1, that is 1.1 raised to negative 3, that's 0.7513. Okay, 0.7513. Sa libro, gihatag na niya. Di ba, gihatag niya ang 0.7513. Okay, pero, again, dapat kabalo mo unsaon sa pag-compute. Okay, kay na mga problems dili mo hatag, so kamoy pa computon. Okay, so, pila tong i-times sa atong 0.7513 times the principal, di ba? Times the principal, pila tong principal? 400,000 or the face value. So that is 300,520. So that is now our present value. Pila atong face value? We have 400,000. Atong present value is 300,520. So, pilay balance ana? Pila tong unearned interest income? That's 99,480. Okay, so you have unearned interest income of 99,480. So, di na lang ako i-prepare ang entries sa. So, just refer to the book na lang about the entries. So, karon ato ni i-amortize, di ba? So, we need to amortize this one for 3 years. Karon magbuhat na pud ta og amortization table nato. So karon na pod lain na pod atong format sa atong amortization table. Tanawa, gaina na ay collection. Dire nawala ang collection. Diba wala na ay collection dire. Blank na dira. You have interest income. And you have unearned interest. Then you have the present value. Yes, dili sa installment, so walay collection. Okay. So, this is letter A. This is B. C. So, ang pag-compute si A, same computation, that C times I. Si B, that's B minus A. Tapos si C, okay, C is C plus A. Tawon ninyo ha, interest income, how to compute. So same lang, that's C, present value times the interest rate. In the problem, that's 10%. Unearned interest, so on sa pag-compute, that's B, the balance of unearned interest minus the interest income. Then C, that is C plus your interest income. Okay. So let's say, di ba? So 3 years, that's January 1, 20, December 2020, December 2021, and December 22. Kung tanaw ninyo ang amortization table, ang atong goal dire dapat mo equal siya sa face value. Diba? So pag dili installment, imong amortization table, imong goal at the end of the year or maturity date niya, the present value should always equal to the face value. Pila face value nato? 400,000. Pag walay installment payments, walay collection. Diba? Kagaina, pag nay collection, zero atong goal dire. So, guide ninyo, pag lump sum, butangin na daan, pilay face value dira. Kay para di ka maglisod o work back on niya. Muna tong goal. So, since we have the present value of 300,520, tapos pilay balance atong unearned on January 1, that's 99,480. Okay, pilay interest income on 2020. Diba? A, so that's 300,520 times I, times 10%. Pila? That is 30,052. To compute their letter B, that's B minus A. So, 99,480 minus 30,052. That is 69,428. To compute your C for 2020, that's C plus A. Diba? So, 300,520 plus your A, 30,052. Okay, that's 330,572. Then, on December 2021, so 330,572 times 10%, so that's 33,057. So, same process. This is 36,371. Then last, you have 363,629. Dili na pod, stop na pod ka paabot sa last year because again, dili na ma-apply tong times the interest rate. Okay, because our goal is dapat mo equal sa 400. Question, di ba? Pila atong idugang sa 363,629 para mo equal sa 400. Pila man? That's 36,371, di ba? So ang formula ani, that's C plus A. Di ba ang formula niya is C plus A to get the 400,000. C 363 plus pila plus question mark para moabot kag 400,000. So the answer is 36,371. Oh, zero na ni siya. Di ba? Kay 36 minus kani, 0, abot kag 400,000. Try daw nato. 363 times 629 times 10%, di ba? That's 36,363. Di ba mo ani pag i-times na tog 10%? So di siya equal sa 36,371. So naay difference. Again, the correct answer is 36,371. Pilay interest income on 2020? The answer is 30,052. On 2021, 33,057. On 2022, that's 36,371. Okay, that is how you compute for, batayin ninyo unsa ang gihatag sa problem because your amortization will differ based on the problem. If naka-installment, gamiton nato tong isa. Kani, diba atong goal ma-zero out ni. Pero kung lump sum, atong goal dapat mo equal sa face value at its maturity date. Okay, question so far. So far, sir, ang other term sa lump sum is like, ano say OTP? Pwede, one-time payment. Yes, lump sum, one-time payment. Tibo, tinibo siya. Tibo ang pagbayad. Question. Walay question? Sige, let's have e-sample problems. Okay, let's answer sample problems. Ito kani. So, question is, what is the balance of note receivable on January 1, 2019? And on June 30, pila daw ang current asset for interest on the note receivable? Okay, so frame company has an 8% note receivable. Therefore, since nasa percentage, it's an interest-bearing note. Dated June 30, 2018 in the original amount of 1,500,000. Payments of 500,000 in principal plus accrued interest are due annually on June 1, 2019, July 1, 2020 and 2021. So therefore, bayaran ang principal o ang interest every July 1 of 2019, 2020 and 2021. Okay, so on June 30, 2018, pilay balance ana 1,500,000. Okay, so on question number 1, what is the balance of note receivable on July 1, 2019? So, kano sagay magbayad July 1, 2019. So, let's say 2018 times sa tag interest dire, that's 8%, pila man eh? That's 120,000. Kano sa nang 120,000 gikan na kang ato na lang tarong og label ni. That's from June 30, 18 to June 30, 2019. That's the interest. This is the interest income. Okay. Pag abot og July 1, di ba? Pag abot og July 1, 2019, nagbayad og 500,000. Di ba sa principal? Tapos gibayaran pod ang interest on July 1, 2019. Tapos sugod na pod July 1, 2019, pilay balance nimo 1 million. Pilay interest 8%. Di ba ang interest nimo mag-base na lang sa balance. Wala gingon nga compounded, di ba? Wala gingon nga compounded. So this is 1 million times 0.08. That is 80,000 interest from July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020. Okay, that's the interest. Paabot og July 1, 2020, di ba? Paabot og July 1, 2020, nagbayad na pud siya og 500,000. So, balance, 500,000 na lang. Gibayaran pud niya ang 80,000 nga interest. Wa na pud ka, paabot July 1, 2020. Dire lang tataman because the question is 2020 raman taman. What is the balance of note receivable on July 1, 2019? Pilay balance on July 1, 2019 sa imong notes receivable. Based on our computation. Pilay balance. Pila man? On July 1, 2019, pilay balance sa atong notes receivable. Diba, this is our notes receivable. Sige daw. Okay, the answer is 1 million. Diba, mo man nagbayad ka July 1, 500. So, ang balance na lang nimo after payment on July 1, 1 million na lang. Therefore, the answer is 1 million. Okay, next question. In the June 30, 2020 statement of financial position, what amount should be reported as current asset for interest on the note receivable? Sir, say current asset on interest on the notes receivable. It refers to your accrued interest receivable. Diba? This is part of your current asset. Accrued interest receivable. Pila daw imong accrued interest receivable on June 30, 2020? 80,000? Okay, the correct answer is 80,000. Bantayan ninyo ha, kani grabe ka tricky. Ano man, ang date niya gingon June 30. Pasabot, June 30, naapa kay 80,000 nga accrued interest receivable. Kanos agi bayaran? Kanos agi bayaran? Ang 80,000. July 1. Isa ra ka adlaw, di ba? Isa ra ka adlaw ang diferensya. Therefore, June 30 man na pangutana, nabayran na ba ning 80,000? Nabayran na ba? Wala pa. Therefore, it's still a receivable. Diba? Receivable pa siya. That's why, napatay receivable nga 80,000. Pero kung ang pangutana on July 1, pila daw ang accrued interest receivable, pili answer? 0. That's the time, the answer is 0. Nga naman, nabayran na. Nabayran na on July 1. So, wala na kay receivable account. I hope that's clear, ha? Kanita. Second illustration. What is the total carrying amount of notes receivable at year end? Okay, so at year end, Jet Company received 2 duha ka 1 million nga notes receivable from customers in exchange for services rendered. So nakay duha ka 1 million. Okay, nay duha ka 1 million. Nakadawat tag duha ka 1 million. On both notes, interest is calculated on the outstanding principal balance at the annual rate of 3% and payable at maturity. So, interest daw is calculated on the outstanding principal balance at the annual rate of 3% and payable at maturity. Therefore, naatay interest rate na 3% based on the outstanding principal balance, bayaran siya at maturity. Therefore, tibo og bayad ang interest. 'Di ba? Tibo og bayad ang interest. Okay, the note from Heart Company made under customary trade terms is due in 9 months. Therefore, ang isa ka 1 million nga gikan kang Heart is due in 9 months, while the other note from Max Company, 1M note, gikan kang Max, is due in 5 years. The market interest rate for similar notes at year-end was 8%. Then the compound interest factors to convert future value into present value is at 8% as follows. So, gatagan ta og present values. You have for 9 months and for 5 years. So, nga nung PV of 1 ang gamit because, di ba, lump sum ang payment niya. Bayaran siya at maturity. Okay, so present value due in 5 years. Okay, 0.680. Question karon. The question is carrying amount of notes receivable at year-end. Pila daw ang initial measurement sa atong duha ka notes receivable. Okay, first, isa-isahon na to, kang Heart. At what amount na to i-measure initially kaning kang Heart? Diba? Short term ni long term. Short term, Heart sa taha, Heart. Okay. Short term note receivable or long term note receivable? It's a short term. Nga naman, 9 months ra, di ba? Less than 1 year, short term. Therefore, pag short term, initial measurement is at face value. Therefore, automatic, the 1 million from Heart is recorded at 1 million at face value. Diba? 1 million at face value. Okay, goods na ta kang Heart. How about kang Max? Kang Max, long term, short term? Long term, diba? Long term. So, it's a non-interest bearing long-term note. Therefore, we measure it at present value. So, unsa atong gamiton? Unsa nato pag-compute ang present value? Diba? So, magamit pa ba ning 9.944? Dili na. Nga naman, di na ta mag-present value because at face value na to i-measure. Magamit ba nato ang 0.680? Yes, because we need to compute the present value. So, nanatay 0.680, pila tong i-times ani? Diba? Since it is PV of 1, atong i-times ani ang lump sum payment. Diba? Ang lump sum payment, ang one-time payment. Question, pila ang one-time payment ni Max sa ato at the end of year 3? 1 million. O sige, ingon sa interest nga 3%. Diba? On both notes, interest is calculated on the outstanding principal balance at the annual rate of 3% and payable at maturity. Diba? Yes, 1 million, bayaran na to one time. How about the interest? Naka-installment ba siya or naka one time? naka one time, di ba? Every year mag-charge pero one time kolektahon. Therefore, appeal siya sa atong i-times dire. Di ba? So, let's compute, di ba? Natay 1 million tapos 3% ang annual. Good for pila ka years ni? Good for 5 years. Therefore, pila man na 1 million times 0.03 times 5, that's 150,000. Therefore, atong i-times dire ang 1 million nga principal plus the interest of 150,000, pila na siya? 1 million plus 150 times 0.680, that's 782,000. Therefore, this is the present value of max notes receivable plus the face value of 1 million. Therefore, the total carrying amount is 1,782,000. That's letter D. Question. Bantayin ninyo ha. Na, di ba kani, palibog-libog, gihatagan mo og 9.944 pero dili magamit. Di ba? So mga pang kuan na siya. Samok-samok na siya dira. Okay, so questions? So clear naman tong atong illustration kagaina, no, katong mga illustration sa libro, katong amortization table, or mag sample problem pa ta. So clear na siya, or kinahanglan pa mag sample problem ato. Clear sir, kay kapoy na sir. Sige. Sir ha, clear na, bitaw, pila may nag-clear. 1 2 3 lima ra ang 5/60. Bantay lang clear ha. Sige. Okay, so wala na questions. Let's end early for this afternoon. If you don't have any questions, be happy.